What is up, guys? Today I want to talk to you about a lens that I'm currently completely infatuated with, and that is the Sigma 16mm f1.4 for Sony E-mount. This lens, combined with the Sony Alpha A6500, makes a combination that I think has been my favorite to shoot with in the entire time I've been shooting videos so far. If you're into vlogging and love making travel videos, then you might want to check this one out. So let's talk about what this lens has to offer. Every single lens has a class or a group that it wants to compete in. We were talking about the Sony GM series, which competes in the high-end market. We're talking about $1,000 lenses that it's competing against. This lens, however, competes with the mid to high-end budget options, coming in at $449 currently on Amazon and B&H Photo. This is I wouldn't say cheap lens, but it's definitely not an expensive lens. This is definitely a reasonably priced lens. However, don't let the price tag fool you, because this lens is absolutely packed with features. First of all, 16mm on an APS-C body, that is the equivalent of about 24mm on a full frame body, and that is still a pretty wide lens. Not only that, it has a maximum aperture of f1.4, giving you that delicious, creamy, shallow depth of field with that creamy bokeh. Creamy. The build quality is phenomenal, with the lens feeling great in your hand and the focus ring feeling great to use. However, don't even worry about manual focusing, because this lens is built for autofocusing, and I mean both photo and video. Snappy autofocus makes taking sharp photos not only easy, but a fun experience, and paired with the A6500, it is great at video autofocus. This video so far has been shot entirely on the A6500 paired with the 16-1.4 at f2.8, and as you can tell, first of all, for all of you who have been commenting that my autofocus has been trash, I know, in my other videos it has been trash. I actually figured out that when you shoot in 4K on the Sony A6500, facial detection doesn't work. So this video is in 1080, but at least the autofocus works. Now, speaking about build quality, let's look at the size of this lens. While it's not a tiny lens per se, it is small enough that it makes traveling easy. And the reason for it being a medium-size-ish lens is because it needs to pack enough glass in there to allow for the maximum aperture of f1.4. Now that's really wide open. So while it might not be a pancake lens, taking this lens with you on your A6500 is still a tiny setup compared to other lenses I've used for vlogging, for travel, for photography, etc. Now, the next question on everybody's mind, considering the fact that this lens is modestly priced, the size of this lens is very reasonable, the build quality of this lens is pretty solid, it's got f1.4 and shallow depth of field at a wide angle, how is the image quality? Nothing short of phenomenal. Color rendition, great. Contrast, great. How it handles backlighting, great. How does it flare? Great. And sharpness, oh my god, is this lens sharp. From all the pictures and videos I've taken with this thing, it is a sharp lens, surprisingly, and if you really want a reference for yourself, all the footage in this video has been shot on this lens and the A6500, so seriously, it's a good lens. The only critiques you'll find about this lens from me is going to be the fact that corner sharpness is not that great at f1.4, but by the time you get to f2.8, all of that disappears. And in extreme lighting conditions, you'll see purple chromatic aberration fringing where there's extreme contrast, like if it's extremely backlit or just generally very bright spots, both of which aren't really the fault of Sigma, but rather just a symptom of having such a large aperture lens. Barrel distortion does exist, however, if you're taking photos, that's an easy fix in Lightroom. Just go ahead and apply a camera profile of the lens. And if you're shooting video and you really need those straight lines in the background, you can always fix it in post in Adobe After Effects or Premiere Pro. I find that this lens has very little flaws. Now, I originally wasn't even going to make a video about this lens. I kind of picked up this lens because I wanted a wide-angled lens that was compact to use on my Sony A6500 when I went traveling, and during my last trip to Poland, I brought 3 lenses with me. The 16mm f1.4, the 18-105 f4, and the 85mm f1.4 G Master lens. And out of all 3 lenses during my trip in Poland, this was the lens I used the most. Now during the first few days, I would switch between the lenses to get a feel for which lens I liked more to take pictures with, to film videos with, but by day 4 or 5, this was like the only lens I even brought out of the apartment with us. As a matter of fact, originally for the first few days, I had all 3 lenses with me, but by the second week of our trip in Poland, this was literally the only lens I had on me, and I sometimes didn't even bring my camera backpack because I didn't even need it anymore because I just had my setup right here. I use this lens extensively to take both photos and videos to put together the travel vlog that you recently saw on this channel, along with most of the photos I posted from the trip on Instagram. Reasons why I personally love this lens. Now, I don't know about you, but when I started doing videography and photography, at first I started with the 50mm lens. Now, that's what most people end up starting with. And then I was like, wow, this is beautiful, and I want to take portraits, so I started picking up more telephoto lenses like the 85mm, the 70-200, because, you know, you couldn't get that from any other type of cameras like your phone or anything like that. But I feel like most videographers and photographers, you end up not getting a wide-angled lens early on or even through most of your career because you don't know if you really need it. After picking this lens up, I started to realize I love shooting things in wide angle. You get more of your background behind you, you get more of the location. If you're traveling, let's say you're taking a picture in front of the Colosseum in Rome, you want to show that in the background if you're, say, doing an environmental portrait. But however, the reason why wide-angle lenses turn a lot of people off and away from using them is because wide angle is typically associated with a lack of depth of field, a deep depth of field where everything is in focus. And you know, of course, for us savvy YouTubers out there, that's not cinematic enough apparently. I have a whole rant on why people should stop shooting in f1.4 and f1.8 because people are using it as a crutch, and why people need to stop using 120 frames per second. And to be honest, I'm to blame for that too. I do it too, but it really is a crutch that people are relying on far too much these days. Anyways, that's for another video. But another aside is if you're into vlogging, this might be a perfect lens for you because at first when I was vlogging, I had this setup, but along with this setup, I also had a small HD focus on the top of my camera. So as you might expect, it made the camera vlogging rig a lot bigger than it needed to be. It was a lot more awkward to carry and it was a lot heavier to carry. But after about 2 to 3 days vlogging with this lens, I realized it was wide enough that I was almost always framing myself without even having a monitor, without even checking my composition. I knew what I was framing, and that's the beauty of shooting with such a wide-angled lens, and this is a great lens for that. As for photography, if you're into taking, you know, landscape photos, astrophotography photos, architecture photos, what's the word I'm looking for? Real estate photography, then you'll love this lens too. This lens really does cater to a lot of people's needs that they didn't even know they had. I didn't know I really needed this wide of an angled lens for my daily shooting, especially for videos, until I picked up this lens. So I guess the takeaway from this video is if you don't already have a wide-angled lens and you're in the E-mount ecosystem, I highly recommend checking out this lens in the link in the description down below and take a look at it. Honestly, you might fall in love with this lens as much as I did. Alright guys, and that's it for this video. If you liked the video, hit the like button, and if you want to see more of this kind of content, go ahead and hit subscribe. Surprisingly, this channel's been growing kind of fast. The fact that the subscriber count has been going up despite the fact that I post like 1 video a month, I really want to fix that. It's just, I don't know, there's no excuse. More videos to come soon. Ring that bell, stay notified, and as always guys, peace out.